Well, hello Internet, and welcome to part 19 of my C# video tutorial. In this part of the tutorial, we're going to start talking about GUI interfaces. So we're going to talk about WPF, XAML, properties, message box, event handling, resources, layout managers, and a whole bunch more. I'm going to give you a rough overview of a ton of different things in this video, and then in later videos I'm going to create some applications. Like always, all the code is available in the description underneath the video, and I have a lot to do, so let's get into it. Okay, so the WPF, or Windows Presentation Foundation, is going to be used to create graphical user interfaces, like I said. And XAML, which you're going to see a lot of, which stands for Extensible Application Markup Language, is going to be used to create the UI using sort of something that looks like XML. And as you're going to see, XAML is going to allow you to define buttons, boxes, animation, 2D, 3D graphics, and a whole bunch more, but we're not going to get into all those different things right now. I'm going to get in here and just first off show you how to start one of these or create one of these WPF projects. You're going to go to File and New Project. And then you're going to come down here and open up Visual C#, and you're going to open up Windows Classic Desktop and WPF app like that. And you're going to click on down here, and we're going to give this a name. So I'm going to call this WPF tutorial, and that should work. And I'm going to hit OK. All right, so the very first thing it's going to open up, you're going to see mainwindow.xaml, and then you're going to have mainwindow.xaml.cs. This is going to be where the code is, and this is going to be the presentation layer. And if we move this down here, you're going to see all of your XAML code. So let's move that up, and then I'll go through. Basically, you don't need to worry too much about all of this stuff right here. I'm not going to get into it that much right now. What this guy right here is doing is defining the namespace that all of your code's going to be under. Main window is going to be the name for your little window you have right here. And of course, height and width is going to define the height and width of your window. And grid is going to open up by default. That's going to be your default layout manager. We can jump over here and look at this code. You're going to see it loads all these different modules inside of here. And this guy right here is going to initialize and display the window whenever you run your application. Now you're going to be able to come in here and do a couple different things. You're going to be able to change the title, for example, for your window just directly inside of your code. So you can change this to Hello World or something like that. And you can do a whole bunch of different things. You can see here, as I hit the dot, it shows all the different things I'm going to be able to change. You can see there is a lot of them. So what I'm going to do is just change one more thing just to show you something else. I'm going to show you how to change the startup location, and we're going to define window startup location, and we are going to say that when our application runs, we want it to run in the center of the screen. Now I'm going to jump back over into XAML and open that up. And like I said, you're going to be able to come in here also and define the title, the size, whether it can resize or not. I'm going to go and just change a couple of these different things for us. So along with height and width and the name, which we changed over in the code, we can say we want to define the resize mode, and let's say that we want this to be set to no resize. So that means that they can't resize it. And like I said, you can see all the different options as you type this in directly. We can have size to content, and this is pretty much, I'm going to cover all the different things you can do inside of here in regards to the application itself. And let's say size to content and have that set to whatever the width and height of all the components are inside of here. You can define that this will be the topmost window at all times, no matter what opens up inside of it. I'm going to set that to false because that can cause a little bit of problems, but that is an option that's available to you. I'm going to define the window state, and you can see here, like I said, it's either going to start up maximized, minimized, or normal, which is going to be whatever your height and width is. You could also come in here. Let's say I wanted to come over and I wanted to create a icon. I could come in and let's say add and go and get a folder inside of here, and we're going to call this resources. And then what I did was inside of Windows, I searched for an icon file and I just copied and pasted it. And I'm going to paste it inside here. So I'm going to say paste. And you can see right there, favicon.ico. You can use any icon you can find. That you have tons of them on your computer, so just search for one of them. And then I will be able to come in here and set the icon for it also. So let's change this to icon equal to, and then you would go dot / and resources, which is going to point at that resources folder that you just created right there. And then favicon and ICO, and that's going to set the icon for your application. You could also do, let's say we wanted to change, you could do so many different, there's so many events. What I'm going to do here is go mouse move, and I'm going to automatically create an event handler. It's going to change the title to the XY position of wherever the mouse is moving. So I'm going to just click on this guy right here, and you can see window mouse move shows up right there. I'm going to save that and jump over here, and you're going to see that window mouse move shows up right inside of here. And now we can define exactly what we want to do inside of there whenever the mouse moves. And what I specifically want to do inside of here is, like I said, I want to change the X and Y position and display it in the title. And I can do so just by referencing the title like that is equal to E, which is our event, get position, and get position like this. And then we can go this, which is going to be our mouse. And then let's convert it to a string. And we're going to do a whole bunch of these. This is just something cool. Well, I just threw that in there. Let's just run it and see what happens. All right, so the application's going to load. Whoops, can't do that yet. I'm going to have to actually come in here and throw some content inside of our application before I can run that. So let's come in and let's change a couple different things here. Before I do that, let's come in and I want to talk about resources a little bit because I want to go and pull some resources. I'm trying to cover a bazillion different things. Now, you're going to be able to store data as a resource and reuse it over and over again just by coming in here and going window resource like that. And then we can throw a string inside of here. So we'll say something like sys string x, and then we'll go key is equal to, and this is just going to be like the name that we're going to be referencing this string as. So hello again, get rid of that extra quote we have there. And then inside of here, we can put whatever our string name is, and I'm going to have this be hello again, and then just save that. And let's change this to sys. And then this is giving us an error because we need to load something. So we're just going to check on that right there. And what we need to load is exactly what it shows right here. So I'm just going to say preview changes and then click on apply, and that's going to go away. All that's fixed. Now we're going to be able to use resources. And like I said before, Grid is a layout manager in which there are a whole bunch of them. There is also the stack panel, which is what we're going to use right here. And you can see that automatically updated both of those little tags. And there's also the canvas and the dock panel, which I'll show you here as the tutorial continues. Now we're going to have the stack panel set up so that it is automatically going to stack every single component that we put inside here. And this is going to look ugly, but don't worry about that. So I'm going to go orientation is equal to, and let's just have it set up for vertical so that everything is going to show up vertically on the screen, all the different components. And let's start throwing some components inside of there. So we can come down, we could either type in, let's do it both ways. So I could come in and I could do a text block like this. And then let's have you're not going to use the stack panel that much. You're normally going to use it inside of other layout managers, but I just want to cover all of them. So what we're going to do here is have vertical alignment be equal to center. And there that is. Another thing that's neat to know is you're going to be able to change all these other different things over here in the property section. So let's close this off at the end there. And then you're going to see all the different layout options that we have here. Orientation, vertical, and blah, 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 blah. But I'll get into those as we continue. I'm also going to go text wrapping and have it all wrap on the screen. Does that make sense for me? I'm going to throw some text inside of here. This is going to be the content that shows up. And I'm going to use hello world just to do something different. And let's do vertical alignment, and let's set this to top. And then just as an additional thing, let's go and set the font size, and let's make that equal to 40. And as you can see, as I'm typing all this in, it's automatically going up there on the screen. We're also going to be able to come in here and use the resource that we defined right here, this string right here. And how we can do that is come down inside of here, and let's just do another text block just to do something that's very easy. And then here, if we want to use that text block, instead we're going to go text, and then inside of the quotes, we're going to say static resource, and string hello again is going to show up, which is the name that we gave that resource. course, we can set the font size and all the other different things we have here. And let's have the horizontal alignment also be center. Rather than type all that out, let's do it like this, and then we'll close off that tag. And you can see hello again shows up there. We can also come in and let's open this up down here, and let's click on Toolbox. That's what I'm clicking on right there. We can also drag and drop these guys. There's button. I'm going to drag and drop it up here. So just drag it up onto your screen and drop it. It's automatically going to show up right there. I'm also going to be able to define other things inside of my resource section. Like let's say I want a default for all the buttons that I use. I can do that. So let's come in and I'm trying to cover pretty much everything. How you define default styling for components is you come in and you say style, and then you define the type of component you're going to be working with, which is going to be button, and then close that off. And then inside of here, you define all your defaults. So I'm going to say setter here, and I'm going to define the property that I want to set as a default. And let's say that I want my margin to have a value that is equal to 1. I can just do it like that and then close that off. And let's do this for a couple more different things here just so you can see a couple of them. So we'll also define the font size. And as I'm changing these, you're going to see the things up here are going to change as well. So let's change this to 40, and let's also do vertical content alignment. It's already going to have a value of center, but I'm just doing it. And then you can also change the font family. So let's go font family, and let's set this to Consolis. All right. So there we go. Went and changed a couple different things. And you're going to see that as I change the styling inside of this resource section, that it's automatically going to update all of the buttons that are available for us to use. So let's come down here and let's change this name. I'm going to change this to close window. I'm going to show you how to go and track an event and how to close your window using a component. Let's go and give this a name though first so that we can refer to it. And how you do that is by going x : and then name, and then this is going to be equal to, I'm just going to keep it simple and call this button 1. Come in here and define a couple other different things. Let's go height, and let's get rid of the content section here. Let's go height, and let's define that as 40. Width is going to be equal to 90. Get rid of that extra quote there, it's causing problems. You can see how that changed. Horizontal alignment, and let's make that center. Content is going to be equal to close window, because that's what it's going to do. You can see it's not quite fitting, so why don't we go and change that a little bit more. Let's change this to 200. Oh, it needs even more space. All right, so let's change this also. Change this to 60. I'm just doing this on the fly, so a little bit off. And let's change this to 250. Hey, it needs to get bigger. Let's change it to 300. What I'm doing is overriding the defaults that I set up in the resource section for this. And then let's also come in here and define a click event. So we just type in click, and then this guy's going to pop up inside of here, and I can just double click on it. It's automatically going to save that and put it over in my code section where I will be able to update it. Before I leave though, I'm going to show you a couple other different little tricks we can do. Let's throw another button inside of here. And why don't we just go and copy this instead of typing it all out. I'm going to grab this guy right here, copy it, paste it inside of there. And I'm going to call this, I'm going to change this a little bit. I'm going to call this button open file to show you how you can open the open file dialogs to automatically open up files. So let's change the content on this to open file. And let's change the click event here to button open file click. And then I'm also going to show you how you can open the save file dialog. So let's paste that inside of there. And let's just change this from open to save file, and then change this to button save file. All right, so we're back over in the coding section, and let's set up button 1 so that this will work for us. What I want this to do is whenever the user clicks on it, I'm going to open up a message box and tell them that the app is closing, and then I'm going to close the application. So to open a message box, you just go message box like that, and show, and then we're going to say something like the app is closing, and that's going to open up right before the app closes. And to close your app, you just go this and close, and there you go. You just close that window. Now, because I went and defined those click events without allowing the application or Visual Studio to do that for me, I'm going to have to come in here and actually create these on my own. but they're pretty simple. I just copy this. It's going to do basically the same exact thing. So let's paste that inside of there, and then let's just change the name of this. So this was, change that to button, open, file, click. That was the name that I gave it over in the XAML file. And then if I want to open up a open file dialog, I just go open file dialog. That's going to give me an error saying that it doesn't exist. So I'm going to come down here and go show potential fixes. And this is the one I need. And it's automatically going to go and put that in there for me. So now what I can do is go open dialog equal to new. And we can go open file dialog to create that. And then to open it, we can just go open dialog like that and show dialog. And that'll open that up, and you'll see what that looks like here in a second. And we also are going to show you the save file dialog. So let's open that up and just change this to save, and everything else stays exactly the same, except this is going to be save file dialog. So change that, and let's change this one, and let's change this as well. And we'll change this one also. Save dialog, show dialog is still going to be the same as it was before. And now I did a whole bunch of different things, so let's run it and let's see how this works out. Oh, there's an error. What was the error? Main window does not contain a definition for button open file click. Let's make sure that it went and got the right module inside of here. I thought it was going to give it to me. Oh, yes, it did. There's that one right there. I see what I did. Inside of here, I have to go button open file click and button there. Now it should be fixed. And there you can see it open. And if I click on open file like this, it's going to open up the open file dialog like you've seen before. And we'll just hit cancel right here. I left that as open file. No big deal. This is the save as dialog. You can see how that works. Oh, you can also notice here that as I'm moving around, the X and Y coordinates are changing up there in the title. Kind of neat. And right here, you can see that if I go and click on close window, the message box is going to open up. I'm going to click on OK, and the application is going to close. So a whole bunch of different things we covered right there. Now I'm going to go in and focus in on the different layout managers we have available to us. So here I am back in the XAML area, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to get rid of the stack panel here all together, delete everything that we created, and I'm going to replace it instead with a canvas. Now the canvas is normally not used on its own, but it is quite useful. And I'm going to set you can see all the different colors that are available that automatically pop up inside of there. I'm just going to be simple and use gray inside of here. And you can see everything changed gray up there. You're going to be able to come in and adjust a whole bunch of different things. And what makes the Canvas Layout Manager different is it allows you to place components absolutely wherever you drag and drop them. And it is not automatically going to dynamically resize if you resize the window. Everything's just going to stay exactly wherever you put it. So here I'm going to define my height as 350 just to do something, and my width is going to be 525. So basically the same as the window that's going to be there. And then inside of here, I can go and drop whatever I want. So let's open up the toolbox again. And let's say I want to get a label. So there's a label right there. I'm going to drag it up here, and wherever I put it, that is where it is going to stick. See? You can see it's right there, just as I laid it in. So let's change this a little bit. Let's change this to a name, and you can see as we move this around, canvas left and canvas top are going to change. Everything's based off of this 0 position up here in the upper left-hand corner. And let's go and get a text box also. So let's open this up and get a text box, drag it up here and drop it just wherever you want to put it. That seems perfectly fine. And you can use the arrow keys to position it if you think it looks better in some other position. And for this guy, I'm going to change the text right here, and I'm going to change it to enter name just to add something in there. And I'm also going to add a name property to it so that I will be able to grab the information out of it that's inside of there. And the name I'm going to give this is user's name. And then let's also come in here and grab a button out of here. So let's grab a button like this guy right here and throw it up inside of there. You can see my styling isn't working all that wonderful. Let's go and get rid of it. I just put that in there just so that I could cover that and show that it was possible to do it. So let's just go in here and delete the default styling for our buttons. There you go. Now it looks a little bit better. And let's change this content right here to send. And what I want to do with this is whenever the user clicks on send, I want them to automatically open up a dialog that is going to say hello, whatever their name is. So I'm going to add another click event to this. So I'm going to say click is equal to, and let's go and create something for it. So let's go new event handler. So just double click on that, and it's just going to be button click. I'm going to change it to send button click though. Bounce over into the code. And one thing I'm going to have to do inside of here is I'm going to put a string inside of here that's going to hold the user's name. So just user's name is going to be like that, defined outside of the main window. And then let's find button click, and let's change it to send button click. And then to get whatever the name was that they entered inside of there, I just reference its name, user's name, text, and I'm going to save it to my string. We can come over here and look at it again. User's name is what I gave this. See, user's name's right there. So let's come back inside of here. And then I'm just going to output it in a message box. Exactly like that. So let's save that. Let's run it, see how it changed. You can see right here it opened up, and if I come in and select this, let's get rid of that and type in Derek and click on send, it's going to say hello Derek. Okay, so another way to grab text out of a component and use it to display in other components. And now why don't we take a look at the wrap panel. So I'm going to delete canvas just like I did before, and we're going to type in wrap panel and open that guy up. Now the wrap panel is going to allow components to flow as the window is resized. And kind of like some of the other ones that I've talked about, the layout managers anyway, most of the time wrap panel is only going to be used as a sub element, but I just want to show you what it looks like. Of course, we can come in here and change the background and tons of different properties. Let's just set this to gray again just to be a little bit boring. And I'm going to set my orientation in this guy to horizontal. And that's just going to define how it's going to wrap the information. And then I'm just going to go in here and throw a couple different things in. So I'll go label and content is equal to, and we'll say name and close that off. I'm going to jump over into the code first because I foresee an error. Since this doesn't exist anymore, we're just going to delete that. All right, all gone. And then let's throw in a text box again. And name is equal to, and let's throw user's name inside of there just to do something. And the text for this guy is going to be enter name, just like we did before. Whoops, messed that up. Enter name, there we go. And let's define our width to be equal to, I don't know, just 150. There we go. And we can also throw a button inside of there just to add a little bit more content. And the content for this is going to be send, and then we'll go define our width again is equal to 75, and we will define a click. We don't need to define a click event. All right, so let's close that off, and then you can see what it looks like or how a wrap panel works. Let's start that. And you can see it's right here. And if we come in here and resize it, whoops, I said no resize. All right, let's close that out. Let's jump back inside of it. So right here where we have our window, remember I said right here, no resize. Let's just get rid of that altogether. All right, save that. Let's run it again. Trying to do 50 different things here at once. All right, so there it is. Now we will be able to resize it. So now you see how that works, and you can also see how the wrap panel, see how it has the window size changes. It's automatically going to fill all of the content. All right, so another layout manager. And for the last layout manager I'm going to talk about grid panels. And the reason why you're going to use grid panels a lot is because they are very flexible, and everything's basically just going to be pasted or placed inside of cells that are made up of a whole bunch of columns and rows. So let's come in here and let's get rid of our wrap panel, delete that. And there's a good reason why they give you grid by default inside of Visual Studio whenever you're working with your layout manager. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to basically how you define how the content is going to be set up is you add rows and columns by adding things called row definitions and column definitions. And I'm just going to go in and start making them. So we're going to come in and we're going to go grid, and then we're going to say row definitions. And then inside of here, you're going to define what's going on. So what I'm going to do is try to define or create a calculator. So I'm going to go row definition, and I'm going to say that the height is going to be equal to star. Now you can put a fixed height inside of here, which would be a number, you know, like 20, 30, whatever you want it to be. You could put a star in there, and what that means is it's going to take all of the space that's available, or you could type auto inside of there, which means that it's going to take all the space needed by the component. So there's a whole bunch of different options available to you. Now for my calculator, what I'm going to do is I'm going to need, I'm thinking 6 rows. So let's go create 6 of these. And you can see they automatically drew them on the screen up there. So there's 6 rows. And then what you need to do after you're done with that is define the number of columns you're working with. So I'm going to say grid and column definitions. There that is. And now you need to define all the column definitions. How many columns you want? I'm going to say I need 4 columns. So I'm going to say column definition. And I'm going to say that the width is just like before going to be equal to star. So it's going to take all of the space that's available, and then I just come in here like that and paste in, I said 4, there's 4 of those. And you can see how everything is laying itself out there. Now what you need to do is come in and define where the components are going to lie inside of your grid system. I'm going to drop this down here. So let's say across the top, I'm going to want to get a text box, just because I can do it here. Let's go and drag and drop a text block up inside of there. So let's find a text block, or I'm going to use a text box. So I'm going to drag this up here, and I'm just going to drop it inside of there. You can see how it was placed inside of there. Now what I want to do is come down here and actually define what's up with this. So I'm going to get rid of the margin altogether, because that's counterproductive for what I'm trying to do. Or actually, let's change it a little bit better. Let's say that I want to define that the margin is going to have 2 pixels of margin on the left and the right, and 5 pixels of space on the top and the bottom. So we can just go 2, 5, like that. Then what I need to do is define exactly how it's going to lay out inside of our columns. So I'm going to say that I want to use grid row, and that is going to be equal to 0. And then grid column span, that means how many columns it's going to take up. I'm going to say that it should take up 4. So that goes completely across the top of the screen. And then I'm also going to come in here and get rid of our height property and get rid of width, so that it automatically is going to fill all the space. And now get rid of vertical alignment, don't need that. Get rid of horizontal alignment, don't need that either. And now you can see the text box that I created where our numbers are going to go fills in all the space, and there's the margin and all the other stuff. So now what I need to do is come in and actually start putting in the buttons that are going to go underneath of it. So I can drag a button up here if I'd like to, and then resize it. Sometimes that's more trouble than it's worth. I'm just going to go in and create a button completely from scratch. So I'm going to say button, and the content for this button is going to be the number 7. And here I'm going to say horizontal alignment, and I'm going to set that guy to left. This is going to start in grid row 1, which means this is 0. This is the number 1 row. Here I am going to use a vertical alignment, and I'm going to set that to top. I don't need to define column span because by default it's only going to work with 1 column. And I'm going to say that the width is equal to something like 130. I think I'm dividing that up right. And the height is going to be somewhere around 50. And then I'm going to close that off. And there you can see, drew in my number, and it's pretty much lined up pretty well. Okay? So now I need to do that for a whole bunch of additional buttons. This isn't perfect, but it's, good for what we're doing. So I'm going to need one for 8, I'm going to need one for 9, and I'm going to need another one for the plus sign. So I'm going to change this to 8, I'm going to change this to 9, I'm going to change this to the plus sign, and then to get this to actually work, I just have to define what column. For all the additional ones, I need to define the column that it's going to be resting inside of. So right after this, I'm going to say grid and then column, and well, I don't want to overwrite that, so let's get rid of that. Space like that, and grid dot column. There it is. And I'm going to have this go in the first one. And you can see right there how those are all lining up. I'm going to copy this and change the other 2 as well. Let's change this to 2, and then come in for our last one and change this to 3. And there we go. Got our text box, and we have all of our numbers. Now what we're going to be able to do is just copy this, because we're going to use the same format over and over and over again. So let's just copy every single one of those. Copy, paste that inside of there. Here I'm going to get grid column, and I'm going to change this to 0 for our very first one. So let's put that inside of there. Change that to 0, right like that. We have to change our rows. Every row now is going to be 2. So let's go and change all of these to 2, 2, and 2. And then we need to change the numbers that are assigned to all of them as well. So let's go up here. And this is going to be 4, this is going to be 5, and this is going to be 6. And then we are going to come down here and throw in a negative. And you can see all of those are all lining up. And if we run this, of course, I could do all the additional ones, but I think you're getting the point. There is our calculator, there's our text box, and there are all of our buttons that we will be able to use to interact with our application. And you can see as I resize them, it is automatically filling in all of the different space. Okay, so there is a rough overview of a whole ton of different things about how to create GUI interfaces using WPF and XAML inside of Visual Studio with C#. And of course, I'm going to make a whole bunch of different applications here demonstrating exactly how this works. And like always, please leave your questions and comments below. Otherwise, till next time.